Can you game on a laptop that is less than 1 kilogram? Today we're gonna find out how it is to game on the Acer Swift 5 2019. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am W2Best and I make videos about tech, travel and inspiration. If you're new around here, I would be super happy to see you as a subscriber to the channel. That helps me out a lot. I've been using the Acer Swift 5 for about a month now, and during this time I've had the opportunity to play a few games, and there are quite a few things to say about gaming on this kind of machine. Let's get into playing some games and I will talk you through what are the main points around this when it comes to gaming on the Acer Swift 5 with the MX250 graphics card. We'll try 4 different games. 2 of them will be really easy to handle. That'll be Brawlhalla and Cuphead. Then we'll get to a medium heavy game that you could lower down in settings to still make playable, which is Overwatch. And then we'll try to throw a heavy AAA title, which will be The Witcher 3. And then we'll see how the computer handles all of these gaming experiences. As you can see here, I'm going to be filming the screen with my camera. That is because the screencast software limits the performance quite a lot, and also it only captures the gaming at 10 FPS when it's probably a bit faster than that. As you can see, I'm genuinely terrible at this game. However, it was working really smoothly to play Brawlhalla on the MX250 on this Acer Swift 5. There was no problem with lagging at all, which I didn't expect it to be because this is quite a lightweight game. Let's jump over to Cuphead and see how that works. And as you can see, I'm equally terrible at Cuphead as I am in Brawlhalla. However, the game works perfectly, there's no issue whatsoever to run that game, which I also didn't expect there to be. Now we should move on to Overwatch and see how Overwatch plays, which is a bit of an interesting experience. We're gonna run low graphics, but we are gonna stick to full HD, at least to begin with here. We will then have also a render scale of 79%. The other ones are just set to the automatic low settings. I tried to play on medium, but that is simply not working. You have to set Overwatch down to low for it to work in full HD. I'm also firing up MSI Afterburner so that we can get some stats on how the temperatures are and how the performance is during this gameplay. So as you can see, when we start the gameplay here, we're actually almost hitting that 100 FPS. And just for the purpose of that, I'm gonna hide that a little bit more. I'm gonna set it up to 120 so that I don't limit the FPS, so you can see how it plays on low without me messing around with the settings. As you could see on the temperature monitoring in that gameplay clip, it was working pretty well. And we can see here the GPU temperature was pretty stable around 66 degrees. We scroll down and check out the GPU usage. It was hovering around between 50 and 90%, which is fair enough. We then come down to CPU temperature, around 60 degrees, and it's the same on pretty much all the different cores, around 60 degrees. CPU usage was around 75-80% most of the time, and RAM usage was at 6,600 megabyte pretty much. As you could see in this gameplay of Overwatch, it was a pretty solid experience. However, this is not really matching the experience I've had when I used it a little bit longer. So in a longer gaming session, I've been roughly around 45-50 FPS as I was averaging now that I played the game. It always starts out around 80 to 90 FPS and then it drops down quite quickly to between 40 and 50 FPS. The problem is though, when I've been having a little bit of a longer gaming session, the FPS drops way more than that. It drops down to between 10 and 20 and stays there for a few seconds sometimes. So even though the computer is not running that hot according to MSI Afterburner, it appears that it's throttling in some way to keep the performance stable or something. It has not been a pleasant experience when I've been using it for a longer bit of gaming. Now let's move into the real heavy games and see if there's any kind of chance that we can play The Witcher 3 with this kind of computer.
sign might be a flame, but come on, girl. Come on. Enough. Showing off, girl. Lasers are you. Who's next? Come forward. Enough. Showing off, girl. What lasers are you? Come forward. Enough.
As you can see here, I've been playing this with VSync on, maximum frames per second of 60, in full HD, NVIDIA Hairworks set to 4, NVIDIA Hairworks preset set to high, pretty much all these settings set to high. I am really surprised at how well it worked. I would never have thought that Witcher would be playable on high on this kind of laptop with an MX250 graphics card. I'm gonna just try to switch it down to low to see if there's any difference both in how the game looks and how it plays.
Come forward. Enough. See that, Siri?
And after playing Witcher for about 10-15 minutes, you can see here that we were also at 65 degrees with a GPU usage, this time at flat out 100% all the time. We were at a CPU temperature of between 65 and 80 degrees. We had a CPU usage of maximum 41, but most of the time we were around 13-15%. In total, a pretty low CPU usage. Sometimes we hit around 35-40%, but most of the time we're between 15 and 20% on the CPU usage. And RAM, we use 5759 as maximum. That was a really interesting test to run, and I'm really surprised with the performance of the Acer Swift 5 while playing these games. The fact that it could run even Witcher 3 at high settings without it feeling really choppy and laggy, that is an amazing feat of such a lightweight computer and so low performance as it actually has. If you have games that you want to play while you're traveling and you have this as your traveling computer, you can certainly be sure that it will work with the games that you want to play. If I could play Witcher 3 on low or high settings, you're gonna be able to play most of the games that you want on full HD with low settings and still get a playable frame rate. Just keep in mind that when I've been using this for longer periods of time, sometimes it has been lagging and went down to like 10-15 FPS for a few moments here and there. So if you're playing a fast-paced game, you might want to keep that in mind, because that is really annoying if you are in a tight situation in, for example, an Overwatch game. If you have any other questions, please post them down in the comments and I'll make sure to answer as quickly as I can. I'm W2Best. I make videos about tech, travel and inspiration. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.